Okay, we're going to sew the kick pleat. So you should have 2 pieces of your sample, which going to represent the kick pleat on your skirt. And this will be your center back seam, and this will be the pleat. So you should have all the stitching line marked with the center back seam serged on both of the pieces, and also the hem should be serged as well. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we're going to pin right side of the fabric to the right side of the fabric, and we're going to sew the center back seam here. Use your pin to pin 2 pieces together. Make sure it ends on the same dot on the mark. Going to pin this side as well. Okay, now I'm going to sew this line. When you're sewing, you want to make sure you start from the edge of the zipper, and we're going to stop at the edge of the serged edge. So not all the way to the edge of the fabric. Instead, we're going to stop here before the serged edge. Okay. Back stitch. When you sew to the turning point, with your needle inside of the fabric, lift up the foot and turn. Keep sewing on the stitching line. And make sure you stop before the serged edge and backstitch. You should have something look like this. And of course with this part open. And I'm going to iron this like so. So you should press the kick pleats to the right side of the fabric. At the meantime, you're going to press the hem up based on the mark you marked here. So you're going to do that on both sides. Okay. After ironing, inside should look like this. On the left, you're just going to iron the hem up. On the right, you should have these 2 hem iron folded. One more thing to check before sewing, you want to flip it to the right side of the fabric and check if the hem on both sides of the pleat, they are perfectly aligned. Okay, so it looks good so far. I'm going to start sewing the pleat. I'm going to start with the right side of the pleat. So you open the left up, and I'm going to mark on the corner here. So I'm marking the end of the edge of this one on the hem, and I'm also going to mark the edge of the hem on this edge, which means the corner where these 2 edges meet here. And you're going to open it up, mark at the same position from the inside of the fabric. So here, checking on the mark at the same position. Okay, now you have 2 marks on the inside. I'm going to join these 2 marks. Fold it over. Match the mark first. Pin it down with your pin. Make sure it's on the same stitching line. And now you're going to sew this line. So this is going to give you a sharp corner of the hem and this edge from sewing inside. Okay? Back stitch. Removing your pin so you don't hit it with your needle. Back stitch again when you finish. You should have it sewn like this. And I'm going to cut the corner off, but you're going to leave about ½ centimeters for the seam allowance. And you're also going to cut a tiny little corner on this edge, but we don't want to cut into the stitching line, so we're going to cut 2 millimeters away from the stitching line. Like so. Okay, now you can turn it over from the right side of the fabric. And if the corner is not sharp, use a pin to get the corner out. Now you have a very sharp corner on the right side. Now we're going to sew the left side. Because we want to keep this overlap, this part, so we're not going to do the same on the left side. Instead, we're going to fold it back. So open up the hem, fold it right on the mark, pin it down. So we're going to sew on the edge of your stitching of your serged edge. So this will become your new seam allowance. Back stitch. Remove your pin. Back a stitch again. So you should have something look like this. And we're also going to cut the corner. Make sure don't cut into the stitching line. I'm going to leave 2 millimeters away. Fold it out. Again, use a pin to get the corner. Okay. Now you should have the pleat look like this from the inside. Next step we're going to do is to sew this part down. So you're going to open up your pleat. Use pin if you need to sew this edge down all the way to here. So before the start of the hem, it's going to sew from here to here. When you're sewing, you want to sew in the middle of the serged edge. Okay, almost hitting the hem. Going to finish there. So you should have something look like this. From outside, it looks like this. The pleat open up and only one side has the stitching line. The next step we're going to do is a tilted line, which is going to be exactly the line you sewed it from inside. So what you can do is use a pin to mark the stitching line on the inside. And you're going to mark again on the right side of your fabric. Remove the pin. So we want to make sure that we start from the edge of the pleat from underneath. So feel it with your finger. This is starting and we're going to end here. So this stitch is for keeping the pleats down instead of having a wide open opening. Okay. Start from where I marked. Back stitch. After it's done, it should look like this. Have one stitching line, tack the pleats down, and inside look like this. Now, because we have a zipper at the top of the skirt, so we're going to open up the seam here and cut one slash above the curved line. So you're only going to cut one layer. And you want to stop before the stitching line. So ideally, leave 2 millimeters before the stitching line and press this open. Okay, now you have it done. So the inside look like this. The outside look like this.